The following program you're about to hear was pre-recorded. Some of the players that are named in this program are now gone for the season, hurt, or things have changed with their status. So we hope you enjoy the program and maybe get some insight, get a little bit of knowledge, and just have some fun. I know we all enjoyed making this show. It was a little different. It was fun having everybody there. So thanks a lot for listening. Enjoy.
You're listening to Covering the Fields with your host, Joe Ellison.
Welcome to the Covering the Field Fantasy Football Mock Draft Special. Joining us today for the draft are Charles O'Laughlin, Gator Gates, Ronnie McKinnon, and our special guest will be friend and contributor to our show, Marc Sabella. I'm your host, Joe Ellison, and my co-host today is Jason Hughes. So, Jason, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So thank you guys for doing this. We just did our first fantasy mock draft of the season. I know we haven't done any preseason games yet, but we just want to get early. By the way, your listeners out there, these ADPs will change dramatically as the preseason games go on. We're basically just trying to give you some feedback. We're just trying to make it fun and also make some picks that are interesting that maybe you wouldn't take in a low round or a high round, or you might take, way before the ADP is. So we're just trying to have some fun with it. And right now, Joe, you want to read off? We'll start with round one. And basically, there's 6 of us. So we did 2 teams each. Each guy had 2 different teams to choose from to build a roster. We did 12-man league. And then also we did up to round 10. Obviously, we're not going to cover the rest of the bench. But we just want to give you guys, listeners out there, just kind of a early assessment of what's going on with the players before we start the Hall of Fame game, which is on Thursday.
Fair
Hey,
enough.
Joe, before I hand it over to you, so listeners out there, the way we named our teams was basically Charles 1, that's Charles's first team. Charles 2 would be Charles's second team. So for Joe 1, Joe's first team. Joe 2, Joe's second team. Both of these teams have nothing to do with each other. There's only 6 of us, and we try to cover having 12 people in your league. So take it away, Joe.
In round 1, Charles 1 took Christian McCaffrey. Joe 1 took Derrick Henry. Gator 1 took Dalvin Cook. Jason 1 took Jonathan Taylor. Ronnie 1 took Alvin Kamara. Mark 1 took Austin Eckler. Gator 2 took Antonio Gibson. Joe 2 picked Ezekiel Elliott. Jason 2 took Najee Harris, all running backs. Then Charles 2 took Devontae Adams. Mark 2 took Tyreek Hill. And Ronnie 2 took DK Metcalf, all 3 of those receivers.
So, Joe, what stands out of this kind of lineup right here is Gator 2 taking Antonio Gibson when Elliott was still on the table. You still had Barkley on the table. Aaron Jones was still on the table. Mixon, Nick Chubb was still on the table. So, Gator 2, what made you take Gibson basically at that position?
Well, I really like that they're in the East. They're going to be playing Dallas twice, playing Philly twice, and they're going to be playing the Giants twice. And I think Washington's a lot better team than what people are giving them credit for.
And Charles 2, you're taking Adams as your first round pick. Any worry about Aaron Rodgers' situation or the chemistry? Or this guy is obviously a top 1 elite receiver who's going to get paid next year. Any friction there? Any just doubt?
Not at all. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder, and I think the best thing you can give a player of his caliber is a chip, because he's going to eat it all season long, and I think Devontae Adams is going to be his number 1 target. Devontae Adams wants to be the highest paid receiver. He knows he's going to do that, so he's going to ball out this year and say, hey, you thought I was going to be the highest paid receiver? No, I'm the highest paid receiver. So the next guy's turn, make sure he still is paid under me. That's what he's going to do this season.
Hey, Ronnie, this one goes to you. You having the last pick, which means you have the first pick in the snake round, in the second round. You elected to take Metcalf as your first round pick.
I've followed Metcalf for a number of years, and I just really like him. And I didn't have really any other reason for it.
A solid receiver, Joe.
Well, yeah, I guess you're a bit of a Seahawks fan, perhaps?
Yes, I've always been a Seahawks
I kind of
fan.
noticed that Carson was going to be your first pick in the next round also. So you got a big lean towards Seattle, it looks like.
That's true. I'm a big Russell Wilson fan. He's been a great quarterback. Of course, you have to have good receivers. So, but yeah, I'm a big Seattle fan.
All right, Mark, this one goes to you. Mark 1 chose Austin Eckler as your first round pick. Like I said, leaving out there Barkley, Chubb, Mixon. So what's going on with Eckler?
I want to thank Joe and the producer and you guys for having me here. This has been a really fun event. Basically, the answer is that was the only thing I could read on this small cheat sheet, so that was why I went with that. Also, this is not for anyone to really follow for your fantasy football leagues out there, but I knew Joe was coming up, and he's a big Dallas fan, and I knew he was going to go with Zeke, and I couldn't take him just before he came up with him. So I wasn't going to grab him just with him grabbing the next pick. So I went with Eckler. So also I know the Chargers are going to have a great running game with him, and that was a solid pick at that spot. So
No, absolutely. Austin Eckler is a beast. Folks out there listening, we're doing a PPR 1 point. So catches matter, and Austin Eckler is out of the backfield. Could catch, run, touchdown machine, and you got a good quarterback behind you now. So
yes, sir.
So Jason 1, you picked Jonathan Taylor. You know the guard for the Colts is going to be hurt. One of the best guards in the league. And you know the quarterback is probably going to be out. Going to have a hard time scoring early in the season. Yet you take Taylor with the 4th pick in the draft. What was your reasoning?
to me, Jonathan Taylor is just a beast of a running back at Wisconsin and what he did last year. And yeah, that kind of freaked me out when the guard went down. That O-line is one of the best in the league, and now we're missing the left guard and starting quarterbacks out. I still believe in Jonathan Taylor. I still believe that you got 4 other guys on that line that can still contribute and move that defense back. So 5 to 12 weeks, both those guys are out, but I'm still sticking by my guy Taylor. I know you got some other people in the backfield, but I think that's just I got high hopes for him. So yes, a little nervous losing the quarterback in line, but the potential is still there.
The dogs are barking.
Who brought their dog to the fantasy mock draft show? All right, somebody just make a joke about it and we'll move on.
Could you feed him or something? Come on.
All right, we're going to go into round 2 now.
And then I see you took CeeDee Lamb with the 2nd pick.
Yeah, that's a big stretch of the 2nd round. I love CeeDee Lamb. I'm trying to get him like in the 3rd. Right now in mock drafts, he's usually going around the 3rd round. But I think I pulled the trigger early just because I was more nervous that he won't be there in the 3rd round, and I really got high hopes for this guy playing. They're moving him all over the field, in the slot, outside. I believe Dak Prescott being healthy is just he's gonna just pepper him with looks in the slot, going deep. Not sure what's happening with Cooper, but even with those guys coming back, I still believe CeeDee Lamb's going to be a fantastic player. So I definitely reached, get him in the 2nd round. So see if it pays off.
And the rest of the round 2 was Chris Carson for Ronnie 2. Mark 2 took Aaron Jones. DeAndre Hopkins for Charles 2. Nick Chubb for Jason 2. Joe Mixon for Joe 2. Travis Kelce for Gator 2. Stephon Diggs for Mark 1. Ronnie 1 took Julio Jones. Yes, CeeDee Lamb. Saquon Barkley for Gator 1. And Darren Waller for Joe 1. And Travis Etienne for Charles 1.
Travis Etienne, your last pick of round 2. I know the guy was awesome at Clemson, but don't you think a little high to take him in the 2nd round, or you just have big hopes for him and you want him bad?
I got high hopes for him. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to rely on him a lot, not only running the rock, but coming out of the backfield. He can also go out to slot. I think, Urban Meyer's being their coach, he's going to bring a lot of college philosophy to the NFL. I think he's going to find ways to use him. You also got to remember he's going to be playing the Texans twice a year. I think that gives him a great advantage. And I also think The Tennessee Titans defense is a little overrated. They kind of got walked on all over last year, and they lost some more pieces, so I like that there. The Colts are the only team that I'm going to be really worried about them playing, but that's where I think Urban Meyers is going to get creative. So I like what I see there.
So, Charles, any concerns about James Robinson also being in the backfield?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to have a good running back system, you have to have two good running backs. So I expect him to take some carries away, but at the same time, I expect him to be on the field when Robinson is on the field as a slot receiver, or maybe they run two running backs. I don't think you spend a first-round pick on a guy to bench him. That's just the NFL.
Joe 1, this is for you. Darren Waller in the second round. I mean, I know fantastic tight end, one of the biggest threats that the Raiders have. I mean, hopefully Ruggs can get it going, but right now Waller is the man, and Derek Carr is always looking for him. A bit of a reach, though. Second round, don't you think, or what?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a reach. Sure, I wanted Travis Kelce, but he was already gone by the time I picked. And I know what it feels like to be in a fantasy football league, and you're streaming tight ends and guys who are just total garbage. So I think you do have to reach a little bit early in these drafts and get your tight ends.
Yeah, that's true. There's only about, 5, 6 top tight ends, and after that, it just drops dramatically to third, fourth, fifth tier tight ends. So, probably a smart move.
I'm counting 4 tight ends that I would like to pick, and I'm pretty comfortable with.
All right, my next one is Barkley, second round. What happened? I mean, this guy was a first-round pick, all-star. His rookie season lit it up. So, plagued by injuries, that pushes him down. Gator?
Yeah, that was the biggest reason why I didn't want to take him to begin with, was because of his injuries. That's one of my strategies going in, is stay away from injury-prone. Garoppolo would be one that I wouldn't even consider. I'm not saying he's a great player. I just, later on, and when he gets hurt in the 4th, 5th week, now you got to find another quarterback, and by then, your quarterbacks are all gone. So I try to stay away from those players. But the reason I did take Barkley is because in the first round, all these running backs were gone, and of course they will. And then, as in the snake, all running backs were going again. So Barkley, at the time that was my pick for that team, was the obvious choice. He was one of the top running backs up there that nobody picked.
So then I'm looking in third round, your next pick was Kyle Pitts out of the tight end of Atlanta. You've never even seen this guy play a professional game yet. I know he's going high in mock drafts right now. He's going at least the 4th, 5th round. I mean, early 4th, late 3rd sometimes, but high hopes for Pitts.
You're correct. Again, the reason I took him was because on this particular team, Team 3, Gator 1, I had Cook and I had Barkley. And just like Joe was saying about tight ends, you better take a tight end right away, or you just better take them right away, or you're going to be stringing them later. And so Pitts, I think, is a really good pick. I had 2 really good running backs already, so yeah, I wanted a decent tight end. I think if he's average, that would be fine.
Now, do you think Pitts actually goes in the 3rd, or is he going to he's going to skyrocket once preseason starts and people start seeing him? And I mean, they don't have Julio Jones anymore, so you got Ridley, and now Pitts is probably going to be easily the second option there. So, do you think his ADP is just going to go even higher and higher as preseason goes on?
Yes, I do. I think so. I think that at once in preseason, might even take over first. I mean, I'd be kind of reaching it, but sure. And we're looking, when I'm trying to get tight ends, I'm not really looking for yardage. I'm looking for touchdowns.
Well, that's my number 4 tight end. That's my cutoff point. So I think that was a pretty good pick, even though it was in the 3rd round. In round 3, Charles 1 took Kyler Murray, the first quarterback off the board. Joe 1 took Calvin Ridley. Gator 1, we talked about Kyle Pitts. Jason 1, J.K. Dobbins. Ronnie 1 took Russell Wilson. Mark 1 took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Gator 2 took Josh Jacobs. Joe 2 took George Kittle. Jason 2 took Josh Allen. Charles 2 took Aaron Rodgers. Mark 2 picked Patrick Mahomes, and Ronnie 2 chose Dak Prescott.
Joe, right now I'm gonna talk to Ronnie for his Ronnie Team 1. Russell Wilson taken in the third round. I can understand Charles taking Kyler Murray in the third. Absolutely, the guy is just fantasy, the guy's fantasy proven, and he's got the legs, the arm. But Russell Wilson, you can actually maybe have gotten him in the fourth, fifth round, maybe. But why the push to get him in the third?
I've just always been a big fan of Russell Wilson. He can pass accurately. He can pass deep. He can run like a running back. He comes from behind a lot. He's just a good, solid, professional quarterback.
And I would also like to point out, Ronnie, I think that's a good pick because Russell Wilson for the first half of the season or the second half of the season is always in the MVP race. I think it's if you're in the MVP race, you're winning games, you're putting up numbers. So I can't blame you on that pick. But hey, Murray's a little bit better, huh?
Already starting the fantasy football smack talk over here.
I appreciate your feedback. We'll talk later.
Charles taking Aaron Rodgers, pairing up with Devontae Adams. Again, you're obviously not worried about the Aaron Rodgers situation. You took Adams number 1, so you obviously believe this guy's going to just play it out and just be fantastic. And now you're pairing it up with Aaron Rodgers. So that's the first, I believe, wide receiver quarterback combo pair that we have.
Yeah, I like wide receiver quarterback combos, especially when they're big time number 1s or big number 2s, just because the touchdown right there is 12 points. Just like on my first team, I got Murray this round, and a little bit later I go get AJ Green, who I think, when D-Hop's guarded, is going to eat, is going to be a red zone target. So I'm big personally on trying to get a combo between a quarterback and a wide receiver. I think it's a very good strategy.
Back to Ronnie. For his second team, Ronnie 2, you chose Dak Prescott to end of the third round there. Any concern about this recent shoulder injury that we've been kind of hearing that he's not throwing? He's still running, he's still doing drills, but he's not throwing. Any concern about that after what we saw last year with his injury?
You're always going to be concerned about players that seem to get hurt often, but he's a really good quarterback, and it sounds like he'll probably be fine by the time the season starts. So I'm not worried about it at this point.
I'm in 100% agreement. Being a Cowboy fan, I've been paying attention to this. Dak Prescott, they're just resting him. He's not going to play in the Hall of Fame game. It's the time to be cautious, but he'll be there for the first game, guaranteed.
And Mark, this is for you. Your second team that you have, Mark 2, took Mahomes in the third round. I've been seeing people take him in the first round in mock drafts. I mean, they're getting him in the second round. Obviously, guys, listeners out there, like we're doing this to try to give you some feedback, some different kind of picks. And I mean, Mahomes would be gone in the first, second round. You took him in the third. Would you take Mahomes in the first round if you had to, if you thought somebody else is going to take him, or even in the second round, because he's not going to go out of the second round? I don't believe. Are you willing to take a first round pick on Mahomes?
I would agree with you. Mahomes a little bit earlier than the third round would seem a little. I think a quarterback earlier than the third round would be a little early, I think. The reason why I chose him at this point was once Charles 1 took Murray and then Jason 2 took Josh Allen. I saw that there was going to be a run on quarterbacks. That's when I decided to jump on what I think is going to be a high-scoring quarterback at that point in time. Anything earlier than that, I would say, would be probably too early.
So Joe 2 took George Kittle in round 3. Basically, probably the second best tight end behind Kelsey. Any thoughts, Joe, or would you take him in the second round if you had to?
Well, if he was available, sure. But I was very happy. I took care of my tight end problem that I was trying to avoid, that nightmare of streaming tight ends at the bottom of the draft. I got Waller in round 2 and Kittle in round 3. I'm set at the tight end position. The only thing I worry about is Kittle getting hurt like he did last year. But other than that, I feel great about that.
You don't worry about their quarterback play?
I do a little bit, but he's going to be like their main guy. I just see him catching 100 balls this year.
I can see when Trey Lance takes over, that offense just every fantasy player on that offense is just going to go just skyrocketing. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, the running backs, Deebo Samuel. No knock on Jimmy G. You know, he's the starting quarterback now, so he deserves to be a starting quarterback. But I think what Trey Lance can bring is with his legs, and the defenses just can't cover all these fantasy players, position players that the Niners have.
I didn't know the football in Dakota was that competitive. That's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see him play.
He is a national champion at the Division II level, right? Trey Lance. So
there you go.
If you're going to be from Division II, you might as well be the best.
Okay, so Charles, what do you think of Trey Lance? Obviously, he didn't play in one of the big power school houses, but so what do you think about him then?
I think he's a 49er. I pray for him.
Yeah, taking a dump in the toilet.
Wiping my butt with him. Woo!
You don't even pray for him.
I want people to know my hate. I have so much hate for Niner fans. Being a Cardinal fan, it's not just because we're in the same division. I have to listen to these guys talk about how Jerry Rice, he's a great receiver, and I'm just going to go on a little rant real quick. Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver of all time when he played on one of the best teams in the 90s, one. Two, he played with two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but then you got a guy in the division a few years later, almost a decade later, and Larry Fitzgerald, who's played with, if I had to guess, I'd probably say 19 different quarterbacks, and the only two quarterbacks besides Kyler Murray you can tell me is probably maybe three because of Jake the Snake, Kurt Warner, and Carson Palmer. And if you remember, we got Carson Palmer for a 7th-round pick because people from the Oakland Raiders at the time, because people thought he was washed up and he was done. I've seen guys like Larry Fitzgerald, if you would have put him in Jerry Rice's shoes, would have crushed Jerry Rice's numbers. So that's my hate for 49er fans there's words cannot describe it.
Not to mention that there's a whole lot of them where we live. So you
Absolutely.
you probably hear it a lot.
I agree with everything you just said.
One last point before we get out of round 3 is Josh Allen. I got him in the 3rd round, but I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts. He's going in the 2nd round easily. What I'm seeing is Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyle Murray. They're all going within the first 2 rounds. So Josh Allen, even though I got him in the 3rd, like I said, if you wait around till the 3rd to grab him, he'll probably be gone. So if you really want him, I suggest you either get him in the 2nd, early 2nd, mid 2nd. But after that, I mean, people are just going to eat up that offense.
So we're going on to round 4. Ronnie 2 took Mike Davis. Mark 2 took David Montgomery. Charles 2 took Justin Jefferson. Jason 2 took Keenan Allen. Joe 2 took A.J. Brown. Gator 2 took Jamar Chase. Mark 1 took Mike Evans. Ronnie 1 took Amari Cooper. Jason 1 took T.J. Hawkinson. Gator 1 took D.J. Moore. And Joe 1 took Lamar Jackson. And finally, Charles 1 took Robert Woods.
So my only thing is, okay, you got Adam Thielen on the other side. You got Justin Jefferson. You got Dalvin Cook. Do you think he can have a sophomore season the way he had his rookie season? And do you think Kirk Cousins can deliver more productivity than they actually had last year?
Yes and no. I expect the sophomore season. I don't know if I expect Kirk Cousins to put out more than he did last year, rather than I just look at the schedule that the Vikings are going to play and I see shootouts. I see shootouts with Green Bay. I see them if they want to, roll on the Lions, they'll have that opportunity. In Chicago, I can see some good games, some shootouts there. They're going to play Arizona in Arizona, and Arizona last year did not have a good run defense. So, the second they start trying to stop Dalvin Cook, anytime a team tries to stop Dalvin Cook, you're leaving people one-on-one. Jefferson he likes to play ball, man. I love a dog. I love a dog. I'll go with a dog any day of the week. We actually have one here in the studio that's been barking. Thanks for bringing him, Joe. But yeah, I'll go with the dog any day of the week. I made a dog joke. There we go.
Not my dog.
Gator, your Gator 2 team, you went after Chase, Cincinnati Bengal rookie receiver out of LSU. A lot of confidence in him? I mean, 4th round, you picked him up.
Well, that's exactly why I picked him up. In my eyes, the running backs and the tight ends are the more important, and I think that the receivers, you could pretty much pick up a receiver if you pay attention during the 6th, 7th, 8th weeks. But when I got to Chase, I think he was the best receiver that was out there at the time, and I do think that he will, with Burrows, have a great chance to score a lot of touchdowns.
So you got Joe Mixon in the backfield. Now you got Chase. Tyler Boyd's an excellent receiver. And you also got T. Higgins doing his sophomore year as well. I mean, pretty good receiving core for Joe Burrows, but he just has to stay healthy, right? And that line has to block.
Correct. I mean, I think Chase will be being used in the goal line situations.
And then Gator, your Gator 1 team, you took DJ Moore. Now, Sam Darnold is now the quarterback of Carolina Panthers. We all say what he did with the Jets, but the Jets are the Jets.
I do think that he will be their number 1 receiver. Maybe not at the beginning. And like you said, we still have to go through preseason. We haven't even started that. And a lot of things do change between now and then. A lot of quarterbacks you think are going to be starting now sit on the bench and don't. So the same with other positions as well.
All right, we're doing this mock draft the day before the Hall of Fame game, just so everybody knows. I mean, a lot's going to change in the next 3 weeks.
So, Ronnie, too, Mike Davis, you're going with the Seattle theme, but he's no longer with Seattle anymore. I'm not even sure which team he's on, to be honest with you. Oh, he's on Atlanta. Okay. 4th round. Can you explain? That's kind of a big leap for Mike Davis, I'm thinking.
I think he's always been a good, solid running back. And, of course, with Matt Ryan, who throws a lot and loves to throw, you still need a running back to give it to. And I just think he's always been solid and a good guy to go to when Matt Ryan isn't throwing the ball.
What other running backs does really Atlanta have right now? I mean, Mike Davis just seems like that is the option. No more Gurley. I mean,
yeah,
no more Devontae Freeman's gone.
Right. I don't know if, they'll have somebody else in there. I don't know who that'll be. But so I guess then the other team will know that when they run, it'll be Mike Davis. But we'll wait and see. And he's just a good, solid player and blocks well, too. So.
And you can see him getting the majority of the touches from the backfield end at this point.
Sure.
In round 5, Charles 1 took Allen Robinson. Joe 1 took Myles Gaskin. Gator 1 took Justin Herbert. Jason 1 took Joe Burrows. Ronnie 1 took Mark Andrews. Mark 1 took Matthew Stafford. Gator 2 took Tom Brady. Joe 2 took Deontay Johnson. Jason 2 took Adam Thielen. Charles 2 took Javonte Williams. Mark 2 took Darrell Henderson, and Ronnie 2 took Logan Thomas. I can explain my Myles Gaskin pick. I'm kind of desperate for a running back at that point, and the Dolphins really don't have anywhere else to turn that I can see. So I think he's going to have a better year than people think. Then I went off to Deontay Johnson, and I think he's an up-and-comer, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And he's going to be the best receiver that Pittsburgh has.
So you're taking Johnson over Juju and Claypool, basically.
Yes, I am. I think by the end of the season, he's going to be the best receiver the Steelers have.
And now Mark 1 chose Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's been a great quarterback in Detroit for many, many years. Too bad that team never put anybody around him. But how do you feel about him being in L.A. now?
I'm actually excited. I know I'm in 49er territory around here, but I am a Rams fan from a long time ago, and I am very happy that they traded Jared Goff away for a chance to see what Stafford can actually do with the offensive weapons now that he's been given.
Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp,
Yeah.
Tyler Higbee.
And if they can keep their running back core healthy and the offensive line healthy, I think we'll see. We'll see what if he can get out of the first, win his first playoff game at some point. And I think, go ahead.
Losing Cam Akers is obviously going to hurt him.
It's huge. And that's why I ended up taking Henderson down with the Mark II team just down below there, which will be probably the next question. But we were kind of discussing that one too. I don't know if that's going to be ultimately the number one choice for the Rams, but as of right now, that's the reason why I chose Henderson at that point. There could be someone coming via trade or off the waiver wires. I've even heard rumors that Gurley might actually be coming back, but yeah, not a big management favorite at this point in time. So we'll have to just wait and see on that. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Stafford can do.
Charles, this one goes to you. 2 North Carolina running backs, Devontae Williams and Michael Carter. You decided to take Williams in the 5th round over Carter, obviously. Any reasoning, or you just needed another running back? You're running out of running backs. It's tough to gauge rookie running backs sometimes, especially when they share a backfield in college.
Yeah, I went into that pick with a couple thought process. One, I did need a running back, and I chose him over the others for a couple reasons. When you talk about that split carry in North Carolina, he was the one that had the less carries, but if you actually watch their games, yeah, he didn't catch the ball. That was more of Michael Carter, but he was the knock-around bell cow. And when it was draft time, I was praying that my Arizona Cardinals would get him, because this guy's game reminds me, step for step, exactly 110% of Marshawn Lynch. I'll take Marshawn Lynch any day of the week. Also, you're playing in a division that likes to score. Justin Herbert, can we say he's a top 15 quarterback?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes, top 3 quarterback? Top 2. Okay. Derek Carr, say what you want about him. He can score. Can you say he's a top 20 quarterback?
I'd say he's in the top 20. He's accurate. I mean, 70% accuracy.
So here's my question for you. You want to win ball games against those guys, right? You want to win your division. How do you beat them? Keep them off the field, because they do what they do, and that's score points. Run the football. Play defense. Denver's got a great defense. Get a ball to the kid that, like I said, reminds me a lot of Marshawn Lynch. And we'll see where it goes from there. Also, Denver traded up, I think, 4 or 5 spots in the draft to actually get the kid. So it goes back to you don't make these type of moves. You don't go get first-round picks to bench them. You go get these guys because they're in your future. You want to win. Let's go get them.
Would you say it's his backfield to win, or he's already – I mean, they got rid of Phillip Lindsay, so obviously they believe in him.
Yeah, I would say it's his job to lose, or even if he splits the carries, I think in the latter part of the season, he will show up. As I'm telling, if you watch the kid's film, he cracks heads. And, I remember it was an interview with Marshawn Lynch once that said, people said, why do you run so hard? And he says, because you know what? There's no guy that wants to get hit over and over and over and over, and that's just what's going to do. So I just see that coming.
Well, I took his co-teammate there from North Carolina, Michael Carter, in the 7th, just jumping ahead early. I love that backfield that they had, that 1-2 punch they had. Absolutely, Williams is a beast. Carter, I think, could be a PPR machine with catching the ball. So both those guys, I think if you take one of those guys, you won't be sorry for it in the end of the season.
That backfield reminds me a lot of what the Carolina Panthers had about 10 years ago when it was Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. That 1-2 punch was nasty. And I can't lie to you. I thought about Carter, but unfortunately he plays for the Jets. The Jets they're 2 years away from rebuilding. So I stayed away.
In round 6, Ronnie 2 took Tyler Lockett. Mark 2 took Cooper Kupp. Charles 2 took Raheem Mostert. Jason 2 took T. Higgins. Joe 2 took Ryan Tannehill. Gator 2 took Chase Claypool. Mark 1 took Chris Godwin. Ronnie 1 took Terry McLaurin. Jason 1 took Brandon Ayuk. Gator 1 took the Arizona defense. Joe 1 took DeAndre Swift. And Charles 1 took Jonnu Smith.
So I want to jump in on this McLaurin situation. Getting him in the 6th round, I think that was a great pick, almost a steal there, because people may say, who's going to get him the ball? I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is a lot better than we give him credit for. He's one of the last gunslingers in the game. He reminds me a lot of Brett Favre. Just go out there and rip it. I think he's going to be able to do some things this year with his speed. But I have a question for you, Gator. Being an Arizona Cardinals fan, I got to know, what made you take them not only in the 6th round, but the first defense off the board? I understand that defensive line is good at in J.J. Watt, but, everything that's coming out of camp is, Chandler isn't happy. You got a rookie linebacker taking Hicks' spot. You got another rookie who only played 40% of the snaps last year in Isaiah Simmons, and they actually moved him from where he was in college. Malcolm Butler's, there. You got Robert Alford as your second corner who, hasn't played a game in 2 seasons. I got to hear your thinking on this one.
Well, I think that their offensive line is very fast, and I also think that they pressure the quarterback better than, a lot of the defenses in the league. They're playing, you got to remember, Arizona's defensive line. I'm sorry. I think they have one of the fastest defensive lines in the league. They are playing. You got to remember their division now. They got San Francisco, Seattle, and L.A. I mean, those are teams that you better have a good defense, or you're not even going to be in the game. So the reason I took them is when their defense is when the other team is on those 3rd and longs, I think they're going to have a really good chance of getting pick sixes against, especially the 49ers. Might not be so much against Seattle. So I think that they can pressure Wilson, and I do think that Arizona's defense is going to be on the field a lot, and that gives them more opportunities to make those interceptions, those sacks, those tackles, those safeties. So, yeah, I think just the opportunity that they're going to have is why I took them.
I got a follow-up. Jumping ahead here, round 7, your next pick was a kicker. So you took the first defense off the board in round 6, Arizona. You took the first kicker off the board in Raiders kicker Carlson. What's special about Carlson? I mean, you got Justin Tucker out there. Jason Myers is out there.
Well, I didn't take the Raiders kicker just because of the player. I took him because it seems like to me that the Raiders, for the last decade or so, have the hardest time getting in the end zone. They're always kicking field goals. So that's basically why I took them. I just think that I don't see why the Raiders would be changing anything different now than they have the last decade. So the other reason why I took those two, the defense and the kicker, so early is because I already had my 2 running backs. I had my tight end. I did have my starting wide receiver. And again, when it comes to wide receivers, I think those are throwaway guys. You can always pick up a wide receiver if you are watching for New Orleans or Atlanta's, that you don't really know right now, but by week 3, week 4, you go, wow, look at these guys' numbers. My theory when I'm going into these drafts, again, I think you need to get a running back right away. I think you got to get a tight end right away. If you don't get a wide receiver, I think that you need to get your defense. A lot of defensive teams can take the week-to-week points.
Yeah, you went 2 running backs. Anybody else have a theory or thoughts on either go running back, receiver, or receiver, no running back in the first 2 rounds? Anybody?
Well, I like running back. It's possible that if you can get, like I did, an Elliott and a Mixon, or sure, it's feasible. There's nothing wrong with that.
I like running backs if they're a dual threat. Other than that, it's starting to become a passing league. I see a lot of shootouts coming. Defense unfortunately is a dying breed in the NFL. It's tailored more to the offense, so I think there's a lot more opportunity for wide receivers unless you can get a Christian McCaffrey, an Etienne, a Joe Mixon, guys that are really going to come out and have that passing threat.
Austin Eckler.
Absolutely.
Gator, I do want to defend your Daniel Carlson pick, as the Raiders, They were in the top 10 in offense last year, in the bottom 10 in red zone offense. They do kick a lot of field goals. It's not a terrible pick.
Well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
That's Raider football.
That's collusion right here, gentlemen. Collusion.
Yes. Watch out for the trades, Commish.
Here we go. That's how it starts. All right, moving on to round 7.
Well, we have Charles 1, Jalen Waddle. Joe 1, DJ Chark. Gator 1, we talked about Carlson. Jason 1, Trevor Lawrence. Ronnie 1, the Rams defense. Mark 1, Dallas Goddard. Gator 2, the Ravens defense. Joe 2, Miles Sanders. We talked about Jason 2, Michael Carter. Charles 2, Jarvis Landry. Mark 2, the Buccaneers defense. And Ronnie 2, the Steelers defense.
I got a question for you, Jason. Actually, 2 questions. So, one, you're going to have to explain the Carter pick to me because I explained my Williams pick to you. And then my other question for you is Lawrence. You know, I understand he was the number 1 pick. The media's hyped him up. I don't think the media knows how to watch football. I don't think the media knows how to scout. Jamarcus Russell was the number 1 pick. You know, exactly. You know, they said Kyler Murray wasn't going to make it in the NFL because of his size. But you go right down the street in the division, Russell Wilson's the same exact size. I don't think the media knows what they're talking about. And what my eyes tell me about Trevor Lawrence, I've never liked his accuracy. He played in the ACC, which is not the best conference in college football, so it's going to be a little bit step down from competition. And also, he played with receivers that go in the first round every year, a running back that goes in the first round, you know, defensive players and offensive linemen that go in the first round. So right there tells you it's a lot easier to hit your receivers, get to your targets there, 1, and 2, you know, now you're playing with guys that this is how they put clothes on their back and food on their tables by playing ball. It's a lot faster.
All right, so let me start with the Carter one first. I just don't believe there's anybody else in that Jets backfield. Who do you got? Tevin Coleman? Sure, okay, he might be the starter, but why I like Carter is what I saw from him in North Carolina and Williams, just what they did together. But I just don't think anybody on that Jets backfield, eventually Carter's going to take it. Carter's not going to be someone that I'm going to play right away. I'm going to stash. I probably wouldn't even have taken this high, but you know we're having some fun here. We're only doing 10 rounds. There's a lot of picks here that would never make sense. Like, okay, Trevor Lawrence, I would never take him in this round. Absolutely not. I agree with you. He's unproven. He's have a lot of weapons around him. Why I like him, though, is because I like who's around him, the receivers, those running backs. I don't know what Urban Meyer is going to do as NFL head coach with Jacksonville. I have no idea. I would never take Trevor Lawrence this high without knowing anything, but I like his weapons he has. I took Burrows and Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, these would not be my quarterbacks going forward in a real draft that I would be doing. I don't put much faith in quarterbacks that don't have accuracy. So you're right on that. But I love his weapons, and if this kid can actually get it, maybe I could just stash him. I'll get him late in the round, and I could trade him to somebody else and for another receiver or running back later.
Understood. Now I have a question for you and Joe, though. Is, you know, Joe's a big guy that preaches coaching. Coaching's one of the biggest things in a professional, sporting. What do you think about that, and how do you think Urban is going to do in the end? Do you think that translates to the NFL? Because Nick Saban wasn't able to do it. You know, Cliff Kingsbury is having a very difficult time doing it. The transition is extremely real.
I think he's going to get smacked in the mouth first week and realize that this is not the college football that he used to. He's not coaching at Ohio State anymore. This is not just beating up on weaker opponents. He's going to get smacked in the mouth, and Trevor Lawrence is going to realize also. I mean, that guy might be a stud, sure, who knows? But Urban Meyer, yeah, I don't know how he's going to translate. Like you said, other college coaches have not done a very good job. The game moves much faster. It's much stronger. The players are getting paid. That's how they feed their family. That's how they take care of their family. They're not in school anymore, so I think what he's going to try to do is just a lot of short game and use ETN in the slot, running back, receiver, and then Robinson. Just I don't know. To tell you the truth, I don't know how he's going to do. The Jacksonville has the potential to be a high-scoring offense. Their defense is going to get smacked around, so they're going to obviously have to throw the ball and score points. So those points got to come from somewhere, and you put all this money in Lawrence, so you better pay off.
And I just want to chime in on that. I do agree with you. I do think they can get into shootouts, but that's what worries me about a young quarterback. Development is so important, and I've seen a lot of guys get rattled. And once you're rattled in the NFL, it's very scary.
Well, here's another point. If I had my choice, to be honest, I would rather take Justin Fields later on in the late rounds and stash him than take Lawrence.
Yeah, the pressure's not on Fields. I mean,
Exactly.
you got Dalton sitting in front of him, which we saw what he did for the Cowboys last year. But
And I'm very excited about being a Bears fan. We got Fields. Very excited about that. But, yeah, I would take – and I might actually do that. I did that in one of my leagues already that I've done. I've taken Justin Fields and just stash him.
And you know what I like about Fields is just a little side note is that we're going to see what he's made of because, yeah, he's not going to be rushed into the situation, but it goes back to what I say about pressure. It's an amazing thing. It shows you what you're working with, and that defense isn't getting any younger. So you want to win. You got the defense for it. You got a number one wide receiver. You got a couple running backs when Coleman comes back. Fields, you're in a good spot, man. Let's see what you can do.
Absolutely. That defense is not getting younger, and yeah, I love Mac, and we got our nose tackle back. I think we lost Eddie Jackson. He's hurt right now temporarily. But, yeah, we need Robert Quinn. We need all those guys to step up this year and give our team a chance and give Justin Fields a chance to grow. And, like I said, maybe fourth, fifth week, Dalton's out of there and Justin Fields is in there. But it's a lot easier situation than what Lawrence got, and the pressure of being number one and expecting to automatically just make Jacksonville great again.
That is true. Joe, what do you think about Urban as a coach?
I think he's going to do really good. I'm going to be in the minority and say he's going to do very well. He's been super successful, not just successful at every level, but he gets to the top level of whatever conference he's at. And it's that culture that he creates. He's a very tough coach.
Absolutely.
So I think he's going to have a very tough team. And, yeah, he's going to get smacked in the mouth early, but he's going to come back and start smacking some teams back by the end of the season.
So, Joe, what do you think Jacksonville record is at the end of the year then, projecting?
I'm going to say, what were they last year? I think they won 1 game, 2 games. I'm going to give them like 7 games.
Wow. That's a huge jump, buddy.
But 7 wins and 10 losses. There's 17 games this year.
Yes, there is.
So you've got Indianapolis. I have 0 faith in Carson Wentz. I think that team is in trouble. Houston is a total diaper fire. They're going to be the worst team in the entire league.
I will say Detroit's going to be pretty bad,
well,
too. Detroit's going to be horrible.
They'll be the second worst team then, Detroit. I'm going to say Houston's the worst. That's a good shot for 3 wins right there.
You know who the third worst is going to be, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, right. Not a chance. Not a chance. Philadelphia will be worse than Dallas. I'll bet you anything on that. But anyway, no, I think Urban Meyer's is going to be, they'll start off a little slow, and at the end of the year, they're going to look really good, and they might be a good team to bet on.
So Vegas has got the over-under at 6.5 right now at minus 1,100. No, sorry, minus 110. Sorry, bad eyes. Don't have my glasses. Minus 110. So are you betting that?
No, I'm not going to bet it, but
You're
that's
just saying it.
If it was just 5.5 or something like that.
But here's my thing: if you're saying
6.5,
wins,
it's just going over by a half. I want a little more leeway than that.
Well, that's why Vegas wins.
Yeah, 6.5. I will say I'm pretty stunned to see that their over and under is 6.5.
I am too. They had a good squad. They have a decent squad, but I don't see them winning more than 3, 4. I'll give them 4 to be nice. I don't think Houston wins a game this season. I think because I don't know if Deshaun's going to play ball there. So if they don't win, if he doesn't play ball, I think we'll see the first 0-17 team, which is pretty amazing seeing it on the first year that it's possible. So
round 8, Ronnie 2, Michael Thomas, Mark 2, Harrison Butker, Charles 2, Zach Moss, Jason 2, the Bears defense. Joe 2, Justin Tucker. Gator 2, Greg Zerline. Mark 1, Jason Myers. Ronnie 1, Jason Sanders. Jason 1, LaVisca Chenault Jr. Gator 1, Rondale Moore. Joe 1, Young Hoo Koo. Charles 1, AJ Green. Round 9, Kenyon Drake. Then Darnell Mooney, Juju Smith-Schuster, Trey Sermon, Emmanuel Sanders, OBJ, Jerry Jeudy, Kenny Golladay, Devontae Smith, Tyler Higbee, Zach Ertz, Mark Ingram. Round 10, Jamal Williams, Kareem Hunt, Rashard Bateman, Tony Pollard, Washington defense, Buffalo defense, 49er defense, Latavius Murray, Chargers defense, Kansas City defense, and Patriots defense. And the final pick, Tariq Cohen.
All right, guys. That concludes like our round 10. Any thoughts? First of all, I want to ask Gator one more. You took him in the 8th. What do you find special about him? Going into a high-powered offense, already having Hopkins, have AJ Green. Where does Moore fit into this?
Well, again, I'm taking a chance on Moore. We're talking about round 8, and again, the way that I look at wide receivers, I use them as throwaways. Because like I said, you usually, if you watch by week 3, week 4, you can usually pick up a really good wide receiver. Nobody's paying attention to, nobody's watching. So, yeah, I took a gamble on Moore. He's proven to be Moore from Arizona. So, if he doesn't do anything good, I just get rid of him. And if he does, that's just more power to me.
Nice little sleeper.
Yeah.
And here's another throwaway, which was never a throwaway, and all of a sudden lately, just no one wants him. OBJ was taken in round 9. This guy was going off the board in round 1, round 2, and now none of us wanted him. We all passed on him, and finally Mark, one of his teams, actually said, I'm taking him, guys. And so what happened? OBJ.
Just incredible value there. You just have to take a flyer on it at that point.
Yeah, if it bombs out, what does it matter? It's the 9th pick. I mean, you've already got your receiver set up.
Exactly.
And if he pays off, that's a great trade asset right there.
Great trade asset. If it doesn't work out, which probably the odds are in your favor that he's going to work out somewhere. And if not, then you just drop him in a waiver move later on.
I'm going to go over to Charles now with Zach Moss. I was big on Zach Moss. I did draft him in one of my leagues last year. I thought he was going to be an exceptional rookie. Injuries definitely plague you no matter what level you're at. But he's back there with Devin Singletary. He's healthy this year. I presume he's healthy this year. I haven't heard any stories about him not being. And now he's got Josh Allen. Now, I just think Josh Allen's going to get all the goal line carries. I don't know what value a running back has for Buffalo anymore, except pick up a couple downs here and there. I mean, other than that, where's the value in? Like, I'm not taking Zach Moss this year. I'm not taking Devin Singletary. What are your thoughts, Charles? I mean, you grabbed him.
So it just goes back to my thought process of the Javonte Williams thing. They play some really good teams this year. They play Washington. They play the Steelers. They play the Chiefs. They play the Bucks. You got to keep those quarterbacks off the field. He's saying he's feeling extremely healthy. I think a great 1-2 punch at running back, and I think the better running back is going to carry the team the latter of the season. And I'm just putting my money on Moss there.
Well, I think that's just going to be it. I think we're going to wrap it up here. So that'll be it for the Covering the Field Fantasy Football Mock Draft Special. I need to thank our guests, Charles O'Laughlin, Gator Gates, Ronnie McKinnon, our special guest, Marc Sabella, my co-host, Jason Hughes. I'm Joe Ellison. And you can catch us at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Leave us your comments and thoughts, anything you want to share with us. And we thank you for listening. And we'll see you again on Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field, a CM World Services and LeSage production.